Amir stood quietly near the window of the shuttle as the crystal observatory came into view. It floated like a dream in the darkness of space, its towers rising like sharp glass needles against the velvet sky. Each tower was made of shimmering crystal, catching the glow of nearby stars and reflecting them until it looked as though the whole place was wrapped in silver fire. The observatory was both a work of art and a center of knowledge, created through cooperation between humans and many alien races. To Amir, it was more than a building. It was a symbol of what humanity could achieve when reaching beyond their small world. His heart beat faster as the shuttle drew nearer. This was his first assignment away from Earth, and though he had studied the observatory in books and holograms, the real sight left him almost breathless. He thought of the years he had spent preparing for this moment, nights buried in star charts, long hours of learning about alien cultures, endless exams. Finally, all of it had brought him here. He whispered to himself, "So beautiful," and felt a small smile spread across his face. When the shuttle docked, Amir walked carefully through the glass-like corridors. His boots made soft sounds against the smooth floor, and every step echoed faintly, reminding him how far away he was from the warm soil of Earth. Above his head, transparent walls showed endless space, galaxies shining like lanterns. It was both wonderful and overwhelming. For a moment, Amir felt small, but then he straightened his shoulders. Humans had always been small compared to the universe, but they had learned to dream bigger than their size. A group of alien workers passed him, their tall, thin figures bending gracefully as they moved. Some had skin that shone faintly like metal, while others had scales that caught the crystal lights. They greeted him with polite nods, and Amir responded the same way. He noticed that though they were different, their eyes carried curiosity, the same curiosity he felt inside. At the reception hall, a guide was waiting for him. She was unlike anyone he had ever seen. Her figure was delicate, her skin pale with a soft glow like moonlight on water. Her eyes, wide and silver, reflected light as if they carried tiny stars within them. Her hair was long, almost white, falling smoothly over her shoulders. Amir could not stop staring for a brief second, though he quickly reminded himself to be polite. "Welcome to the Crystal Observatory," she said in a gentle voice that carried both calm and strength. "I am Lena. I will guide you to your quarters and help you settle in." Amir gave a small bow, unsure of how her people greeted, but Lena smiled at the gesture. "Thank you," he said simply. His voice was quiet, but it carried the weight of his emotions, gratitude, nervousness, and wonder. They walked together down a long hallway where the walls shone with flowing streams of light, almost like rivers trapped in crystal. Lena explained that the observatory's structure was alive in a way. The crystals absorbed energy from nearby stars and spread it through the building, giving it both light and power. Amir listened carefully, fascinated. On Earth, buildings were built with steel and wires, heavy and strong. Here, the very walls seemed to sing with light. He thought to himself that humans had so much more to learn, and perhaps being here would open his eyes in ways he could not imagine. As they walked, Amir tried to keep the conversation alive. "Do you stay here long?" he asked softly. Lena tilted her head slightly. "I have lived in the observatory for 6 years," she replied. "My people see the stars as memories of those who came before. Guiding others here helps me feel close to them." Her words were slow, as if she was measuring how to share her thoughts with someone from another world. Amir nodded, impressed. "On Earth we look at stars and think of journeys," he said. "We believe they are destinations we must reach." Lena smiled faintly. "Then perhaps your people and mine see the same lights in different ways. Memories or journeys, both keep us looking up." Their eyes met for a brief moment, and Amir felt a strange warmth rise inside him. It was not love, not yet, but it was a spark of understanding. He realized that though their worlds were far apart, they both carried questions and dreams that pointed to the same sky. Finally, Lena brought him to his quarters. The room was simple but beautiful, with a wide crystal window opening into endless space. A bed, a desk, and shelves stood neatly, all made from shining material that caught every light. When Amir touched the wall, it felt cool, almost alive under his fingers. "I hope you find comfort here," Lena said. "If you need anything, the observatory provides guidance through its network. But sometimes," she added with a softer tone, "it is better to ask another soul directly." Amir felt his lips curve into a smile, Then I am glad you are here, he answered. The words came before he thought about them, but he did not regret them. Lena nodded gently, her eyes reflecting the starlight outside his window. For a moment silence filled the room, but it was not empty silence, it was the kind that carried meaning, as if both were aware of something delicate forming between them. After she left, Amir sat by the window, staring into the vastness. His thoughts wandered. He remembered his family back on Earth, their hopes placed on his shoulders. He remembered his professors telling him humans must show dignity and courage when living among other races. But most of all, he thought of Lena, the silver eyes, the gentle voice, the way she spoke of stars as memories. He whispered to himself, maybe this journey is not only about learning the universe. Maybe it's about learning someone who sees it differently. Later that night, he could not sleep immediately. The observatory's lights dimmed as it entered its night cycle, but the stars outside kept shining. Amir lay in bed, letting his mind drift. Every now and then he thought he heard soft vibrations in the walls like a heartbeat. Perhaps it was just the energy of the crystals, but he wondered if the observatory itself carried emotions, silently watching the people within it. His first day ended not with answers, but with questions. Questions about the stars, about this place, and about the alien girl who had guided him with kindness. Somewhere deep inside, Amir felt this was only the beginning of something that would change him forever. The days passed quietly for Amir in the Crystal Observatory. Each morning he worked with the human and alien scientists, studying the movement of stars and writing notes for his research. The observatory was filled with the hum of machines and the glow of crystals, and everywhere he walked he could see people of different species moving together, each with their own tasks, yet united by the same sky. Amir often felt proud to be part of this place, but also slightly lost in its immensity. It was in the evenings that he found something more personal, something that went beyond science. Almost every night he met Lena in the great observatory dome. The dome was the most beautiful part of the station. Its walls were clear crystal, shaped in a vast curve so that whoever stood inside felt as if they were floating directly among the stars. No floor lights disturbed the view. Instead, soft streams of crystal glow traced the edges, leaving the heavens to shine in their full glory. The first evening Amir entered the dome, Lena was already there. She stood near the railing, her silver eyes fixed on a cluster of distant stars. She didn't turn when he entered, as if she already knew he had come. Amir walked slowly to stand beside her, and for a moment neither spoke. The stars stretched endlessly before them, silent but alive. It feels like the universe is holding its breath, Amir said softly. Lena's lips curved faintly. It does. My people believe that silence among the stars is not empty. It is filled with voices too old for us to hear. Amir thought about her words and smiled. On Earth, we used to think stars were fires in the sky. Then we learned they are suns huge and far away. But even after learning the truth, we still look at them as if they are mysteries. Lena tilted her head slightly, studying him. That is the beauty of your kind. You do not lose wonder even after finding answers. Her words warmed Amir in a way he didn't fully understand. He wanted to reply, but instead he simply looked at the stars with her. The dome was so quiet that he could hear the soft sound of her breath. For the first time since arriving, Amir did not feel small or lost, he felt connected. Over the next weeks, their meetings became a habit. Sometimes they spoke for hours. Other times they sat in silence, both gazing at the heavens. Amir shared stories of Earth. The rise of the sun over blue oceans, the sound of rain tapping against rooftops, the way forests smelled after a storm. Lena listened with wide eyes as if she were storing each word like treasure. She asked him to describe Earth's moon again and again, fascinated that a world so close to humans carried so much meaning for them. In return, Lena told him about her planet. She spoke of valleys filled with crystal pillars that sang when touched by wind. She described rivers so clear that one could see the stones at the bottom glowing softly at night. She told him about her people's festivals, where they lit lanterns that floated into the sky, each one carrying a memory of someone they loved. Amir found himself listening with the same fascination she had shown him. One evening, as they sat on the floor of the dome, Amir asked, "Do you ever miss your home?" Lena's eyes grew softer. "Yes," she said, "but the stars remind me that home is not far. Every crystal in my world reflects the same light we see here. In this way I am never fully away," Amir nodded. He thought about Earth, about the seas and mountains, about his family. He realized that perhaps the stars connected him to his home too. Sitting beside Lena, he felt that distance was not as heavy as he once feared. There were times when their talks turned playful. Amir once tried to draw constellations with his finger against the glass, showing her the shapes humans had imagined in the sky. Hunters, animals, heroes. Lena laughed gently at the strange figures, then showed him how her people connected the stars differently. For her, a line of stars was not a hunter but a bridge, a pathway of memories. Their laughter echoed softly in the dome, mixing with the endless silence of space. One evening, a meteor shower passed near the observatory. Lena had told Amir about it days earlier, and they had both waited with excitement. When the meteors came, the dome lit up with streaks of silver fire racing across the darkness. Amir and Lena stood close together, their eyes wide with awe. The meteors burned brightly, leaving trails that shimmered like falling jewels. Amir whispered, "It feels like the sky is alive." Lena nodded, her face glowing with the reflected light. "These are the moments when I believe the universe wants us to feel joy." Without thinking, Amir looked at her instead of the meteors. The silver glow in her eyes mirrored the falling lights, and he felt a pull inside his heart. He quickly turned his gaze back to the sky, afraid she might notice. But part of him wondered if she already had. After the shower ended, they sat together on the dome steps, still silent, still close. Amir wanted to say something about how he felt lighter in her presence, how her words stayed in his mind even after she left, but he held back. Instead, he said, "Thank you for sharing this with me." Lena looked at him quietly for a moment, then said, "The stars are more beautiful when not watched alone." Her words stayed with Amir long after that night. In the following days, he found himself thinking about her during his work. When he studied the movement of galaxies, he remembered her belief that stars were memories. When he wrote notes about constellations, he recalled her laughter at human shapes. It was as if Lena had woven herself into his thoughts without effort. One afternoon, as he prepared to leave for the dome, Amir paused in front of the mirror in his quarters. He adjusted his uniform carefully, smoothing out wrinkles. He told himself it was simply respect for the place and its traditions, but deep inside, he knew he wanted to appear presentable for Lena. He smiled faintly at the thought, realizing how much she already mattered to him. That evening, when he entered the dome, Lena greeted him with a small crystal orb in her hands. It glowed faintly like a piece of frozen starlight. She placed it on the floor between them, and the orb projected a gentle map of her home's constellations. "This is how we remember our ancestors," she explained. "Each star in this map is tied to a story. My family shared these stories with me when I was a child." Amir leaned closer, listening carefully as she pointed to each glowing star and told its tale. He could hear the softness in her voice, the way memory carried through her words. When she finished, she looked at him and said, "Now these stories belong to you too." Amir felt a quiet rush of emotion. He did not know how to answer, so he only nodded. But in his heart, he knew she had given him something precious, her trust. The nights stretched on, each one leaving them closer than the last. Though neither spoke openly of it, there was a new rhythm between them, a gentle harmony. They were not only two people from different worlds, they were two souls learning to share skies, learning that wonder could cross every distance. And deep within the crystal observatory, among stars that burned silently for millions of years, a bond was forming, soft, steady, and shining like the light that reached them across endless space. The observatory days settled into a quiet rhythm for Amir. Mornings were filled with study and research, endless charts of star positions, long discussions with other scientists, and hours spent examining energy patterns within the crystal walls. Though the work was demanding, Amir found it rewarding. Every discovery felt like a step forward, proof that humanity was not only surviving among the stars but contributing something valuable. Yet, the moments Amir looked forward to the most came after work. When the observatory grew silent and the dome opened to the night sky, those evenings with Lena had become the center of his days. They shared laughter, quiet silences, and endless stories of their two worlds. Sometimes Amir wondered if the stars themselves had arranged their meetings, pulling them together across distance and difference. One evening, however, Lena seemed different. When Amir entered the dome, He noticed she was standing not by the railing but near the far corner as if waiting for him. Her silver eyes carried a seriousness he had not seen before. "You trust me, don't you?" she asked quietly. Amir blinked in surprise. "Of course," he said without hesitation. "Why do you ask?" She looked away for a moment as if deciding something important. Then she gestured for him to follow. "There is a place in this observatory I have never shown anyone. If you wish, I can share it with you." Curiosity rose in Amir's chest, mixed with a hint of nervousness. He nodded without words, sensing that this invitation carried meaning beyond simple exploration. Lena led him through long hallways lit with soft crystal light, then down a narrow staircase hidden behind an arch. The air grew cooler as they descended, and the sounds of the observatory faded until only their footsteps remained. Amir noticed how carefully Lena walked, as if each step carried memory. He followed silently, respecting the quiet. Finally, they reached a small doorway almost hidden in the crystal wall. Lena pressed her hand against it, and the crystal responded with a soft glow, sliding open soundlessly. What Amir saw beyond the doorway made him stop in awe. It was a garden, hidden deep within the observatory. The walls were made of smooth crystal, but instead of machines and lights, the space was filled with plants, strange, glowing crystal flowers that pulsed gently with inner light. Some were tall and thin, their petals opening like glass wings, while others were small and round, shining softly like drops of frozen dew. The floor was covered with smooth stones that glowed faintly under their feet. The air was calm and carried a faint, sweet scent unlike anything Amir had ever breathed before. "This place," Amir whispered. "It feels alive," Lena nodded. "It is. The observatory gathers energy from the stars, and some of that energy flows here. Long ago, the builders shaped it into a garden. It is said the crystals respond to the emotions of those who enter." Amir stepped carefully among the glowing flowers, his eyes wide with wonder. "Have you shown this to others?" he asked softly. Lena shook her head. "No, not even my own people. This place is special to me. I come here when I need peace. But tonight I wanted to share it with you." Her words touched Amir deeply. He understood now why she had asked about trust. Sharing this place was not just showing him a secret, it was opening a part of herself. They walked slowly through the garden, the light shifting gently with their steps. At one corner, Lena touched a flower, and it opened wider, glowing brighter as if answering her presence. Amir reached out to another flower, hesitant, and when his fingers brushed its petals, it released a soft hum that spread through the air like music. Amir froze in surprise, then looked at Lena. She smiled softly. "The crystals recognize you." For a moment, Amir forgot the vastness of space outside, the work waiting for him, even the loneliness he once carried. All he felt was the peace of this garden, the glow of the flowers, and Lena's quiet presence beside him. They sat together on a smooth stone bench near the center. The crystals around them seemed to dim slightly, as if giving them privacy. Lena placed her hands in her lap and looked at the glowing flowers. "When I was young," she began, "I believed that every crystal carried a voice. I used to sit in places like this on my home world, listening, waiting for the crystals to speak. Perhaps it was only a child's dream. But even now I feel they understand us more than we think." Amir listened carefully. "Maybe it wasn't a dream," he said. "Maybe you were hearing something we humans don't know how to hear." She glanced at him, her silver eyes reflecting the soft glow. "You always believe in possibilities." Amir gave a small smile. "Humans are like that. Even when we don't understand, we keep searching. Maybe that's why I'm here. Maybe that's why we're talking right now." The silence that followed was warm, not empty. Both sat with thoughts unspoken, yet both felt the closeness between them growing stronger. At last, Lena whispered, "I don't know why I brought you here, but somehow I felt I could." Amir turned to her. "I'm glad you did. This is more beautiful than anything I've seen." He paused, then added quietly, "And I think it means something that you shared it with me." Lena lowered her gaze, but Amir thought he saw the faintest blush on her pale skin. She said no more, but her silence spoke louder than words. Hours passed without them noticing. They talked of many things, about their families, about the strange roads that had led them both here, about dreams they held for the future. Amir told her he wished to see the galaxies not only through maps but with his own eyes, traveling to distant worlds. Lena admitted she dreamed of one day returning to her crystal valleys, not alone, but with someone who understood why those valleys mattered to her. When they finally rose to leave, Amir felt different. Something had changed. This place had given them more than beauty. It had given them trust. As they walked back, Amir thought about how strange life was. A few weeks ago, he had been a newcomer, lost and unsure. Now he was carrying the memory of a hidden garden, given to him by someone who had trusted him above all others. Back in his quarters, Amir sat by the window, watching the stars. His heart was restless, but not in the lonely way it once was. Instead, it was restless with new questions, new feelings. He remembered the glow of the flowers, the sound of their hum, Lena's quiet voice saying she trusted him. He closed his eyes, letting the memory wash over him. Somewhere deep inside, Amir knew that his journey had shifted. It was no longer just about learning the universe. It was about learning her. The observatory's crystal walls shimmered quietly as another week passed. To Amir, life had begun to feel almost like a dream. His days filled with study and research, his nights filled with stars and Lena's company. The hidden garden remained in his mind, glowing like a secret jewel. And every time he looked at Lena, he remembered the trust she had given him. But dreams do not always last untouched. One afternoon, as Amir worked in the research hall, he overheard two human officers speaking in hushed voices. "They're planning to move some of the researchers," one of them said. "New stations are opening closer to the nebula fields. They'll need skilled people there." Amir's heart tightened. He listened without moving, hoping he had misheard. But the second officer nodded. "Yes, I saw the list of names being considered. Amir's is one of them." The words struck him like cold wind. He lowered his eyes to his charts, but the stars blurred before him. A transfer already? He had just begun to feel at home here. And more than that, he had just begun to feel something with Lena, something fragile but real. That evening, when he met Lena in the dome, the stars seemed colder. He tried to hide his unease, but she noticed quickly. "You are troubled," she said softly. Her silver eyes searched his face. Amir hesitated, then finally admitted, "I heard today that I may be transferred soon, to another station." Lena's expression stilled as if her breath had been taken away. For a long moment she said nothing, her gaze drifting to the stars outside. Finally she whispered, "So soon?" Amir nodded. He tried to smile, but it was weak. "It's not certain yet, but the possibility is there." Silence fell between them, heavier than any before. The stars above them burned bright, but neither found joy in their light that night. The following days carried an invisible weight. Amir still went to work, still shared evenings with Lena, but everything felt uncertain. Each moment together seemed shadowed by the thought of departure. One evening, as they walked through the hidden garden, Amir finally spoke the fear that had been growing inside him. "If I leave, will you forget me?" Lena stopped walking. Her silver eyes widened and then softened with sadness. "How could I forget?" "The stars may be endless, but some lights are brighter than others. You are one of those lights." Her words warmed him, yet also deepened his ache. He wanted to tell her that she was more than a light to him, that she had become the reason the stars felt alive. But the words caught in his throat. The distance between them grew not in steps but in silence. For the first time since they had met, laughter did not come easily. Instead, unspoken emotions filled the air. One night in the dome, Lena finally spoke what she had been holding inside. "In my world," she said softly, "we believe stars drift apart because that is their nature. Even the brightest ones cannot stay together forever." Amir turned to her sharply. "But humans, we fight to stay close. We hold on even when distance pulls us away. We write letters, build ships, cross oceans, whatever it takes. We don't let go easily." Lena's eyes shimmered with emotion. "And if the distance is greater than oceans? Greater than planets? Then we find a way," Amir said firmly. His voice shook, but not from doubt. "We always find a way." The words hung in the air, heavy with truth. Lena looked at him quietly, her expression unreadable. Then slowly she lowered her gaze. For the first time they parted that night without speaking further. Amir returned to his quarters feeling as though a part of him had been left behind. He sat by the window, staring at the stars, wondering if they were laughing at him or pitying him. The days that followed were filled with quiet tension. The research hall buzzed with work, but Amir found it hard to focus. His thoughts kept drifting back to Lena, to her sad eyes, to her belief that stars must drift apart. He wanted to prove her wrong, but how? One afternoon while walking through the observatory corridors, Amir paused by a crystal wall that reflected his face back at him. He looked tired, but behind his eyes was a fire he had not noticed before. It was the same fire that had driven humans to leave Earth, to build ships, to reach the stars. That fire was inside him now, not just for exploration, but for something more personal. For Lena. That evening, when he entered the dome, Lena was already there. She stood by the railing silent. For a long moment, Amir only watched her, unsure if she wanted him close, but then slowly he stepped forward. "I don't know what will happen," he said quietly. "I don't know if I'll be sent away. But I know one thing. I don't want distance to end this. Not before it's even begun." Lena turned, her silver eyes wide. "Begun?" she repeated. Amir swallowed. His heart raced, but he forced himself to continue. "What I feel with you, it's more than friendship. I can't explain it fully, but I know it matters. It matters so much that the thought of leaving hurts more than anything else I've faced." The dome fell silent. Lena looked at him, her eyes shining with emotion, and for a moment Amir thought she might turn away. But then softly she whispered, "I feel it too." The words filled Amir like light. He stepped closer, though still careful, still respectful of her space. "Then why speak as if stars must drift apart? Why not believe they can shine together?" Lena's gaze softened, but sadness lingered. "Because I fear what I cannot control. If they send you away, what power do I have?" Amir's answer was simple. "We may not control the stars, but we control our choices. And I choose not to let go." Her lips trembled faintly as if she wanted to smile, but could not. Instead, she closed her eyes and took a deep breath. That night they sat side by side in the dome, closer than before, though words were few. The meteor shower of weeks ago seemed far away now. Yet in the quiet of the observatory, something unspoken grew stronger. Amir realized then that distance could not erase what had been born between them. It could test it, challenge it, perhaps even stretch it thin, but it could not erase it. Not when both hearts held it so tightly. As he returned to his quarters that night, Amir whispered to himself, "This is not the end. It's only the beginning." And though uncertainty still hung in the air, a quiet determination had taken root within him. The distant pull of duty and separation was strong, but the pull of connection, of love beginning to form, was stronger still. The night inside the crystal observatory was unlike any other Amir had seen before. The sky beyond the transparent dome was alive with light, as if the universe itself had decided to celebrate. Countless stars sparkled, and streaks of meteors cut across the darkness like silver ribbons. The entire station seemed to glow, as if the crystals within its structure had awakened in response to the spectacle. It was the kind of night that stayed in the memory forever. Amir stood quietly near the great window of the dome, hands resting on the smooth crystal railing. His heart was heavy with thoughts. Tomorrow he was supposed to leave for another station, another assignment far away from here. The word duty echoed in his mind, but the more he thought about it, the emptier it felt. Duty could explain his work, but it could not explain why he felt such an ache inside when he thought of leaving Lena behind. He closed his eyes for a moment, breathing slowly. He tried to imagine life on the next station. He saw the labs, the machines, the endless hours of study, but there was no laughter in that picture. No quiet voice asking him about Earth's oceans, no silver eyes shining with curiosity. He realized it was not the station that gave meaning to his days. It was her. Without her, the stars would feel cold no matter how many he studied. A soft sound behind him broke his thoughts. He turned, and there she was. Lena stepped into the dome, her movements light as if she belonged to the stars themselves. The glow of the crystals reflected against her hair, making her look like a figure drawn out of starlight. She held something small in her hands, a crystal flower from the hidden garden. Its petals glowed faintly as if it carried part of the garden's secret light. Amir's breath caught in his throat. He wanted to speak, but words felt heavy. She walked closer, her eyes fixed on his, and for a moment the entire vast dome seemed to shrink, leaving only the two of them standing under the sky. "I thought you would be here," she said softly, her voice almost blending with the quiet hum of the observatory. Amir nodded. "I couldn't sleep. Not tonight. It feels like the stars are saying something." "They are," Lena replied. She lifted the glowing flower slightly. "They are reminding us that moments like this cannot be wasted." Silence stretched between them, but it was not empty. It was full of the weight of unspoken feelings. Amir wanted to tell her everything, that he didn't want to leave, that he didn't want to spend the rest of his life chasing distant duties while his heart was here. Yet he hesitated, afraid his words might sound foolish. Lena's gaze softened and she stepped even closer. Amir, you are leaving tomorrow. The words were simple, but they cut through him like a quiet truth. He swallowed, looking away. Yes, that is what was planned. Planned, she repeated gently. Then she tilted her head, watching him. But plans can change, can they not? Her question surprised him. He turned back toward her, meeting her eyes. They were not sad as he expected. Instead, they were steady, like someone who had decided not to hide her feelings anymore. Do you want me to stay? Amir asked, his voice almost a whisper. Lena's fingers tightened slightly around the glowing flower. She hesitated only for a heartbeat before answering. Yes, I do not want you to go. Since you came here, I have felt something I did not understand at first. I thought it was just curiosity. But now when I think of this place without you, it feels empty. The stars will still shine, the crystals will still glow, but the silence will be too heavy. Her words sank into him slowly, warming his heart in a way no star could. For a long time, Amir had thought of himself as a wanderer, moving from one station to another, chasing science and knowledge. But now hearing her speak, he realized something. The universe was vast. Yet the most important discovery he had made was not in the stars, but in the bond he had found here. He reached out slowly, unsure if he should. Lena did not move away. Their hands met gently over the crystal flower she held. The glow grew brighter at their touch, as if the flower itself understood. Lena, Amir said softly, I don't want to leave either. I thought I had no choice. I thought duty meant more than feelings. But now I know, what I feel for you is stronger than any command, any plan. You are the reason I look at the stars and see more than science. You are the reason this observatory feels like home. Her lips curved into the smallest, most genuine smile. Then stay. Stay, Amir. Let us walk this path together. My people say stars drift, but maybe, sometimes they choose to stay close. The words filled him with relief, joy, and a strange sense of peace. For the first time since he heard of his transfer, he felt certain about what he wanted. Outside, the sky exploded with a shower of meteors, brighter and larger than before. The crystals of the observatory reflected the light in 1,000 directions, wrapping the dome in pure brilliance. It was as if the universe itself had chosen this moment to give them its blessing. Amir and Lena stood together, their hands still joined around the glowing flower. Neither spoke, for words were not needed. The ecstasy they felt was not wild or loud. It was deep, calm, and powerful. It was the joy of two souls choosing to share the same sky. Minutes passed, maybe hours. Time lost meaning. All that mattered was the closeness they had found. At last, Lena spoke again, her voice gentle. Tomorrow, let us go to the garden together. We will plant this flower back where it belongs. It will grow brighter because now it carries both of us. Amir smiled, his heart light. Yes. And every time we see it, we will remember this night. She nodded, her silver eyes reflecting the falling meteors. And we will know that among countless stars, two chose to shine side by side. The night continued, filled with light and silence, with wonder and unspoken promises. And there, in the crystal observatory under the endless sky, Amir and Lena found what they had been searching for, not in science, not in distance, but in each other.